Hi everyone, my name is Naweed Mohabbat and I'm running to be your next ASUC president with CalCert. I envision an ASUC that takes issue-based advocacy to a whole new level, and I'm running with 3 different platforms to make sure that that vision becomes a reality. The first is mental health. 1 in 2 students during their time here will be diagnosed with depression. I want to make sure that our university is prioritizing mental health services. 2, administrative accountability and accessibility. Our university in the past year has hired 4 new administrators, a new chancellor, a new dean of students, a new executive vice chancellor and provost, and a new chief financial officer. As they're settling in, I want to make sure that their visions are representative of our student concerns and student interests. And lastly, revamping new student services. As a previous CalSO counselor, I witnessed students learning the time warp when they should have been learning the resources that will help them thrive here as students. What I bring to the ASUC is the passion and, more importantly, the experience to make the ASUC a source of transformative change on our campus. Thank you.
Thank you. First question, how have you been involved with the Jewish community at Cal, and how will that involvement inform your work in representing our community while in office?
We have 90 seconds, correct?
Yeah. We won't start the clock till you start speaking.
Oh, dope. Okay. So, to be completely honest, I haven't really been involved in the Jewish community thus far. I'm not a part of the Jewish community. I represent the Middle Eastern Muslim South Asian Coalition as an independent senator in the ASUC, but I don't think that will hinder me from being able to represent the Jewish community. As ASUC president, the role is to being able to amplify the student voice to administrators and whoever the Jewish community feels that needs to be able to listen to them. I think the Jewish community has their own concerns, and as ASUC president, I'm not trying to ignore that. I'm running to represent all students. As an independent senator, I've definitely been able to engage all stakeholders of the ASUC within the past year. I've definitely seen struggles from CalServe, I've definitely seen struggles from Student Action and Squelch as well. I don't think any community is without their own issues. I think it would be wise of me, of course, and I'd definitely be open to this, is creating a more open dialogue with the Jewish community, especially next year if I am elected ASUC president. How the Jewish community wants to see that happen is really up to the Jewish community. I'm not trying to dictate their relationship with myself, but I'm definitely open to it.
Thank you. What is one of your personal values, and how do you see this value relate to the Jewish community?
So, I think my biggest personal value that I really hold dear to myself is inclusivity. As a Muslim student on campus, I've definitely felt unwelcomed on campus at multiple occasions, and the intersectionalities of that I think has given me a really interesting perspective on life, and I definitely recognize the intersectionalities within the Jewish community. This isn't a homogenous community. There are so many different voices within it, and I think that I want to recognize that. I think the Jewish community has had a similar issue, such like to MEMSA, and that's campus climate. I know that there have been a lot of anti-Semitic incidences in the past. I definitely recognize that I felt so unwelcome on campus on multiple occasions. I think it's up to the Jewish community to really be able to open that dialogue with me, and I will definitely take those proactive steps to make sure that happens and see what we can do and what I can do for y'all, and making sure that those incidences are kept at a minimum. If we can't abolish it, absolutely.
Sorry. As president, you have the power to veto any bill passed by the Senate. When do you think it's appropriate for the ASUC president to use this power, especially as it relates to recent and potential future divestment bills?
So I definitely want to recognize the tension and the campus divides that happen during divestment. I personally don't think it's conducive ever to bring up divestment, and that's something I'm going to really try to make sure doesn't happen as ASUC president. I know as a member of the Muslim community, we felt just as divided as the Jewish community did as well, and that's something I'm really trying to avoid. I think our communities have so much in common and so much we can work towards together. I know that's like this year I've been working towards, with the MSA in Hillel actually, bringing kosher and halal food into the dining commons. I think that's just one thing that that is a shared value and that we can be working towards. In terms of divestment and a bill and vetoing it, I guess, I just want to state openly here that I don't support BDS. I don't think it's conducive to anyone. I don't believe in the disestablishment of Israel. I think everyone has the right to feel safe in their own homes. I think if divestment were to be brought up again, and that's something I'm going to be working towards, like I said, to make sure that doesn't happen, I think I want to respect the voice of the Senate and the representatives that are present in there. If they do pass a bill, I think it's important to be able to analyze the bill correctly. I want to make sure that it doesn't support BDS because that's not something that's of my values. Furthermore, if the Jewish community really does feel like the bill needs to be vetoed, I want to have a lot more dialogue between whichever party had brought it up and the Jewish community in order to make sure that we take the necessary steps.
Last question.
What do you think is the biggest issue currently facing the Jewish community, and how do you plan to address this issue as an executive?
Okay, so I think I touched upon this a little bit earlier in another question, but I think that there are inherent intersectionalities within the Jewish community, so I don't want to speak and say there's a huge issue that we should focus on one particular issue, but I think if I had to pick one, I would say campus climate. I think that's something that a lot of students on campus can really agree that is a huge issue for so many communities on campus. If elected ASUC president, I want to reinstitutionalize something that happened in the past, and that's called Bears Breaking Bread. That was a program that was put on in the past by executives that brought together communities who had traditionally had a lot of contention. I know as a Muslim student, like I said earlier, there have been a lot of divides between our communities, and I think that's something that I want to work towards, bridging that gap and moving forward together, because there are so many issues that don't relate to foreign politics that we can agree on as students, as Berkeley students, and I want to make sure that all those voices are represented and how I can be your representative as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.